Swanzey Then and Now. Here we are with Lee Dunham, and I'm Jody Turner. And today we're going to talk a little bit more about Swanzey Center. And when I think of Swanzey Center, let me see, I think of the Potash Bowl, I think of the Grange, I of course think of the schools, but I always think of Mount Caesar.
Yeah, Mount
And I don't know
Caesar's
why
there.
I do, but it's up there kind of watching over the town of Swansea, in my point of view. We've got a picture at some point in the rolls of these women in hoop dresses.
Yeah.
And there's a garden in the background, and there's Mount Caesar with hardly any trees up on it.
Yeah, that's the oldest picture I've ever seen of it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting to see how few trees there were
Right.
around.
Right. Well, we went up there the other day. We climbed Mount Caesar because I hadn't done it for quite a while, and so we climbed up and looked out, and you can see a bit. You can see Swansea Lake, and you can see there's a sand pit in the background. Then we went over towards the view,
Yeah.
and that was beautiful because you can see Mount Monadnock. You can see the big square White House. I can't remember who owns it right now. I know the people, but Dean was saying, my husband was saying that he remembers some of these houses, not that one in particular, but some of the other big houses when they weren't apartments back then. They were real houses with large doors and beautiful woodwork. And he remembered Halloween and going trick-or-treating in that area because he grew up in those neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did the other side of the Mount Caesar because that's, as I grew up, there were more houses down that side, so you trick-or-treated on that side.
Right,
But
right. So how did Mount Caesar get its name? Wasn't it an Indian?
No, Mount Caesar gets its name
Or a
from a slave.
Right. That's what it was.
Supposedly is buried up there someplace, is the story. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you didn't hear much about slavery and stuff in New Hampshire.
No.
There wasn't a lot of slaves. So.
Right. Well, it's nice that we have that. Yeah. So we're going to look at some more photographs today from Swanzey Center in that area. And I think the first picture that we have is it Ellie?
No,
No,
Flora.
Flora
Newell.
Okay. So Flora Newell.
Flora Newell standing in front of a front door. And this house is right across the street on Sawyer's Crossing Road, or not Sawyer's Crossing Road, on, it would be called Main Street back then, probably. But it's Old Homestead Highway.
Okay.
Right across from Wilcox School.
Okay. And Wilcox School, if you're going through Swanzey Center, it's in my point of view, it's the building that had the pine tree fall on it.
Yes.
And they've done a great job renovating it. It has some supervisory information on the sign out there. I just didn't know exactly what they were using it for now, but it's great that we've saved another building in Swansea.
Yeah. That was built in the 20s, like 1925 or so. It replaced Schoolhouse Number 5, which my grandmother taught at. Schoolhouse Number 5 was on the triangle of Causeway Road and Sawyer's Crossing Road. It was in disrepair before it was built, so guess where they sent the kids for a couple of years? The library.
Oh,
they rented a room.
Is that why it was called the Academy?
Well, no.
Oh, that doesn't have anything to do with that. Okay.
It starts out as the Academy. Was it 1853 or 1843? One of those years.
Yeah, but they sent the kids over
If
there.
you look, when you walk into the library, you're going to see the dates on both sides of the entryway. And the first date on the left is the date that it was built for Swanzey Academy, and the date on the other side is the date that it was given to the Mount Caesar Union Library Association. It's not a town-owned building.
It
It's
isn't.
The association
I
owns
assumed that it was. Huh.
No.
Okay. All right. So I got off the story. Let's go back. So I just wanted people to know where Wilcox School is.
Yep.
But across from Wilcox School is a building. It's kind of like near the entrance to the football fields, kind of like the back entrance there.
Yeah, you actually go down to the football field right next to this house.
So that was her house.
That was Flora Newell's house. And here's an interesting story. I showed that picture one time, and I got some feedback that back in the days, before telephones were all over the place, Flora had a telephone, and if there was a phone call for the school, she'd stand at the doorway and get the attention of the teacher, and they'd come over and answer the phone.
Yeah. So she was like
This
the
is how-
assistant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything she can do.
Those are the crazy little things. That
Yeah.
picture is actually a blow-up of her in the front door, and when you see the big picture, you find out the house is all decked out with flags and
Was that
buntings.
for like the 200th?
So it's the 200th. That was 1933.
Wow. Wow.
So.
And I've seen some more pictures of the 200th. And some of them I would like to share, and some of them I'm not really, they're not really politically correct, but, you know, it is Swansea history, so we may show them anyway.
But those pictures of the 200th anniversary, I looked at those. When I looked at I haven't ever seen the whole set, but you see things like the Priscilla Club. That was a club that was over in West Swansea for the society ladies. And I don't know an awful lot about it. I haven't found a lot of people that could tell me a lot about it yet. There was also another one that was, it was the Pequot tribe number 50. And they're all dressed up like Native Americans around smoking a peace pipe and whatever around a campfire.
Yeah.
And I'm like, boy, that sounds weird. And I did some digging, and this is, you know, for another show, but,
Right.
You know, the Improved Order of Red Men.
So it was for Indian
No,
descent?
it was
Or-
for white men. In the beginning, you had to be a white man to be a red man.
Seriously?
Does that make sense?
No.
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 But it just piqued my interest
Right.
to see that, and
Right.
it's an actual club. And it was,
Yeah.
you joined it, and I actually have a card. When one of your members died, everybody had to pay money to that person or their family. So it was sort of like a death benefit.
Right. Yeah, there is a lot to learn from the history. You know, there's just things that they've just passed by the way. You know, like the Grange, you know, like things that people used to do. They used to be there for each other. Or, you know, going to the meeting houses or going to the dinners or any kinds of community. You know, I go to the brick church, and I'm sure that at some point all those pews were filled. And I would love to see them filled again. But people have changed over the years. You know, I really do think, I'm not saying you have to be religious. You can be spiritual, you can do whatever you want. But I think that churches bring people together. It doesn't matter if you're Christian or whatever. I even saw a show on NPR the other day about being atheist. Just having a community that can get together, that you can feel like people are there for you. And I think that's what I enjoy about going to the church most of all. Anyway, enough of that. But we have all these buildings in Swansea Center. So
Right, and the brick church is another, you know, it's a good one to talk about too. The brick church was built in 1836. Now at that point, that's when now the town hall doesn't serve as a church anymore. Town hall is the town hall, and the brick church on the other side of the road is the
It's
place
now
of
the town
worship. Yeah. But that's built by Virgil Woodcock. And Virgil's a very interesting guy. He's buried in Mount Caesar Cemetery. If you come on my cemetery tour, you'll see his grave. But he's a very interesting guy. He built not only the brick meeting house in Swansea, but where I was married in Troy, the Troy Congregational Church. He built the City Hotel in Keene. And then that's not even the end of it, why he's an interesting guy. When I bring you up on the tour, you look at, and I'll show you his son, there's a little epitaph on the stone. Died in Independence, Missouri in 1849. Does that ring any bells? He was a 49er. He went west to dig for gold in California.
wow.
And he came back after that because now I found a stereoscope in my house that my grandmother had for whatever reason of him doing the same thing up in Plymouth, Vermont. There was a little gold rush up in Plymouth, Vermont.
Right.
And so I've got a picture of his sluiceway and whatever.
Wow.
And it's like Virgil Woodcock? Is it the same one? Yes, it was.
Wow. Wow.
So he did not only build buildings, but he went out west, did the gold thing, came back, lost his son in Independence, Missouri, which,
Right.
if you know anything, that was the frontier. When you get to Independence, Missouri, that was the last thing before going across the Great Plains to
Right.
get across the Rockies to get to California. So
Wow.
he's an interesting guy.
Yeah.
One other thing that I found on him, he also invented a different classroom, something to help teachers. And it was all to do with desks. The desks were in columns, up and down, but the desk next to you was back or forward.
Oh.
So you couldn't talk to your neighbor unless you turned your neck all the way, and the teacher would catch you
Right.
really fast.
Right. It's a good idea. Yeah.
That's Virgil.
Yeah. Interesting. We have some really. I mean, I love listening to stories. I could just have you
And he
keep
lived
talking.
just south of the church,
Right.
not too far down
Yeah.
from there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
you see that kind of stuff when you look at those maps.
Right. Right.
where-
I know
where
the
people
names. We
live.
should do just a map show on all the different places. I mean, seriously, there are so many. So again, if you have things that you'd like to learn more about, or if you have things to share, let us know. If you want to be a guest, just let us know. We're happy to talk with you or encourage you to share.
Yeah.
Okay, let's look at another. Or do you have something else? Okay, let's look at another photograph. Okay, so the Goldenrod Grange, that's right along Route 32.
Right.
So it goes back. The back of it goes to the cemetery.
Goes to the cemetery.
And the road next to it would go up to the Carpenter home,
right, yes.
sort of. Yeah, I think they're talking about that being a one-way when we get the roundabout, which I think might be one of our next pictures. The roundabout.
That's part of
Right. Well, this is here. This is the Grange that we're looking at here,
Right.
and the picture that we were looking at before is the property that this is on, actually. Tell me more about this picture.
That's the Grange curtain that is upstairs and
Really?
the
Is that
Goldenrod
Swanzey
Grange.
Lake?
So that's a picture of Swanzey Lake.
Uh-huh.
And that's, I think, the boathouse to Denman Thompson's that's there on that picture. You can't see it, I'm sure, on this one, but if you look at the picture or if you look at the actual curtain that's up there, that is a Grange Hall curtain. And why we know it's a Grange Hall curtain, if you look in that blue, that light blue around there, I can find the shadows of advertising
Oh.
for local businesses.
Right. And we found that at Wickham Hall, too, I think.
Wickham Hall has
Right.
one, a little different than that.
Yeah.
But that was a thing. Grange
Well, you have to
Hall
pay for it
curtains,
somehow.
Yeah, there was a guy that would come through and
Yeah.
here, I'll give you a beautiful curtain, and he'd go and sell advertising.
Right.
So
Yeah. Nice. What is
that is the Mount Caesar Union Library or the Mount Caesar Academy.
Okay, so look at the trees there. So that's what's confusing because you don't see the trees there now.
No, those are cut down,
Right.
I think, probably in the
But it doesn't
70s
look
or
like it's really
80s.
changed all that much, does it?
No, that one is in the 30s. The only reason I can tell you that is if you look on the top of the I'll
cupola?
call it steeple, but it's a belfry probably because there is a bell up there.
Really?
You can ring the bell on 4th of July. That's
I
in
remember
the-
that. Yes,
is
that's in the booklet. Yes.
That is in the will or the deed that was
right.
given to him.
That it should be rung
That it
on the
has
4th
to be
of July.
rung. It can be rung.
Yeah.
So, but it has a siren on it. Okay, and it has a siren since 1933, I think it was. That's when that was put up there. So.
And
that
the siren
dates-
is just in case there was a...
No, well, it's for the fire station.
Oh, okay. Okay.
What did they do before the siren, you might ask?
I might ask. Yes.
Before the siren, they used the bell actually at the church.
the
Somebody
brick
would go
church?
into the church and they'd ring.
At the brick church?
At the
Yep.
brick church. They'd ring the bell and
Everybody would come a running.
number of times would say it was below the church or above the church or on Sawyer's Crossing Road. You had to listen to the number of bells.
Right. Well, I remember that in Keene when we used to have the boxes and they'd have the different numbers.
That's-
But this was much before that time.
And then we
Yeah.
went to the age of sirens, and
Yeah.
then we get to the 50s, I think, that's when radios came in.
Right.
So now everybody gets it over the air.
Yeah.
Or on their phone now.
Right.
That's how we get
Right.
it.
Yeah. All right, another photo. Okay, so this is just recently. This is what we saw the other day. So, it's, from what I hear, a lot of the trees have grown up. And when you look at Mount Caesar in some of the earlier photos, there were hardly any trees on Mount Caesar.
Yeah, the view, just in the 70s, was so much different than
Right.
what you see now.
Yeah, all those pine trees have grown in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now that place that you go for the view is the best view, I think.
It is, yeah. I think we might have another photograph of the view. Yeah, so here's the sand pit and another view towards Route 32. And then I think we might have a view of, Mount Monadnock.
There's Mount
Yeah,
Monadnock.
isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
And that was just the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. Okay, Old Home Day Parade.
Yes.
Yes.
And the legendary.
Yeah, the Legion Band. I love the Legion Band. It makes me cry every time I listen to it. It's so hard for me. But I don't know what we're going to do ever when all those guys are gone. Okay, Old Homestead, the boys. I love it when they sing their little thing. You know what it's called. I don't remember what act it's in, but
That's in the first act.
It's in the- yeah.
There. That's when they sing Kentucky Babe.
Oh,
and,
right.
And Old Oaken Bucket's
Yeah.
the other one that they
Yeah.
sing.
I love just watching their faces, and everybody does such a great job.
There's one of the oxen. That
Yeah.
is Bob Smith driving the oxen. He did that way back.
Really?
You
Yeah.
know, the 50s and 60s.
Yeah. And you can kind of in the background see the wooden playhouse.
Yeah.
Just barely in the corner. Okay, so this is the Potash Bowl.
Yeah,
So-
that's more of, well, it shows Seminole Lane where that little
Orange.
jut off is. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And
So will they take any of the land probably from?
No.
No, good.
No.
Good, good. Okay, so
there's Flora Newell's house all decked
Oh,
out
yes.
for, that is a house, that's still there.
yeah.
When I was growing up,
Is this
okay.
part of her house as well?
No.
That's another one?
That is
Okay.
across the street from the brick meeting house.
Okay.
Or church.
Yeah.
And that's called the House of Seven Gables.
Oh,
You know, the interesting thing is, before we had road names, people named their houses. They didn't have an address.
Right.
The House of Seven Gables, the Carpenter home.
Mm-hmm.
Any idea what they might have called that? Valley View.
oh, because you
Take
could
away
view
the tree.
valley. It's pretty
yeah,
high up.
Yeah, take away the trees in the front.
Right, which you would
down.
not know now.
Yeah, and
Right.
you have this beautiful view of the valley.
yeah.
So the Carpenter home was known as Valley View.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to Valley View. You know where you're going.
Yeah,
Don't have to have a number.
No,
You don't have
no.
to have a street name.
no, now you'd have to.
And it's even more fun because corners were named.
Named, right.
The 1933 parade started at Talbot's Corner, went past Downing's Corner, and ended past the brick church. Do you know where it was? Where it started, where it ended?
I know Talbot Hill Road.
But that leads you astray.
That's not Talbot, okay.
You had to know that the Talbots lived across the street, sort of from where the Eaton Road and Sawyer's Crossing.
Oh.
That was Talbot's Corner.
Okay, okay,
Downing's Corner was the old SAU,
okay.
or the SAU
Right,
building.
and then the brick church
The
is
brick
down
church,
further.
of course, is.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's how they put it in the paper.
Right, yeah, well, they would know. Yeah. Okay, another photograph.
That's the
Baseball
West Swanzey.
players? Oh,
that's
it's
the
a
West
fire
Swanzey
department, isn't
Fire-
it?
That's the West Swanzey Fire Department.
Right.
Back in the day.
And is this in
they're
West
wheeled-
Swansea?
This
Is
is
that
West-
is that
that's-
the beehive in the background? It almost
don't
looks like it.
I don't believe it is.
No? Okay.
Too flat.
Okay.
They
But this
took
was the fire department.
They took a lot of pictures on Spring Street
Okay.
for some reason.
Right.
I don't think this is there, but
Yeah. Yeah. Let's look at another photo. Okay. Again,
Now
the map. It is a pretty large area. Again, about
yeah.
45 square miles.
and think that we gave some of it away to make Troy.
Really? That was nice of us. Well, except that it would have been very costly too. I mean,
think
can you imagine?
I think Marlboro did also
Yeah,
to make
yeah.
Troy.
So let me just touch on this. We only have a few more minutes left to go. But you were in charge of the highway department pretty much
Yeah,
for Swansea?
Public Works Department,
yep.
yeah.
And you've retired now?
I retired.
Yep. So you had to make sure that all of these roads were taken care of, were plowed, that the covered bridges were in good shape when they got smashed, or
yes.
whatever might have happened to them. What were some of the things that you most remember about being part of the Public Works?
Being part of the Public Works, there's 68 roughly miles of road in town, which doesn't sound like an awful lot. But you add to that in the wintertime, because we had to plow about 13 more miles of state road. I don't know why, but I never was able to find that where that came to be, but okay.
You did it.
You did it. So we were doing about like 70, almost 75 miles of road in plowing. So it was a lot of time. The covered bridges, I think, the most unique thing about the town of Swansea, we have 4. And because we have 4, we have the most of any town. Well, we tie with Cornish. They have 4 also. But I don't think all their 4 are open. Ours are 4 that are open
Working.
to traffic.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind if the Crescent didn't work, but that's okay.
And we're talking traffic as in the Crescent Bridge is
Right.
like 35 to almost
There's a lot of use over that.
4,000 trips a day.
There is, yes.
And it gets a little bit of abuse.
Yeah.
People just
Well,
see
people
it.
forget how low it is,
Yeah.
or like that you're not supposed to be towing things over it that will
Yeah.
hit the sides. And,
We were constantly, every year you'd
Right.
be repairing. And sometimes worse. In my time, and my time was 18 years as Public Works Director, everyone with exception to Slate Bridge has been literally the whole one end of it torn off of it almost. That much, $13,000-$14,000 worth of damage to every one of them, with exception to the Slate. And the Slate Bridge, the only reason that doesn't get damaged is because it burned and was rebuilt with state bridge aid, and is rebuilt at, it's supposed to be 14 high, but
so it built a little bit higher.
right after they did that, they made me take the signs down, put 13.8.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
but it's high enough so that it doesn't get damaged from tall vehicles, and it's set up enough so that people can't really get to it.
Yeah.
There's enough guardrail stuff into it. It just.
Thank you, Lee.
Yeah.
I just wanted to thank you for all of your years of service to the community, and I know that you deserve to be retired, but we're going to use a lot of your talents. So we've got more shows that we're going to be doing, and you have lots of photographs to share and lots of stories to tell, and I'm really looking forward to.
And hopefully we can get some more stories to tell.
Yeah,
too.
because I know that there's a lot of people out there that have stories to tell. They just need to have a vehicle. Not a car, but a vehicle to share these with. And I know that you or I would be happy to talk with them
Yes.
and share these so that
Yeah.
we can get them on video and be able to keep them for history. So I really want to thank you for helping me, get this going today. And again, we've only touched on a few things.
Oh, yeah,
There's so much more to talk about. So
There's more to go,
yeah. So
More to come.
yeah. So if you're interested in information about Swansea, you can always go to the town website, which is www.town.swansea.nh.us, and find out more information. You can contact Cheshire TV. They are in the Keene Public Library right now, and we'll look forward to seeing you in Swansea.